Hey guys, this is Sana here and welcome back to my channel. This is a very quick and short video on tips for section 2, especially the vocab of section 2 because a lot of people have been asking me how to learn it and questions about it. So this is the video tackling that. Before we can jump into this video, subscribe to my channel, it really helps. Watch this video through the whole length, it really helps the algorithm, and comment down below any questions you have. And you can reach me on Instagram as well if you want to DM me any questions. And let's just get into this video. First of all, section 2 of HPAT is a very culturally sensitive section. So your background slightly affects your performance in it. It definitely kind of favors the Western, if that makes sense, ideas of interpreting a situation. It can be really detrimental to people who are not from the same background, upbringing, for example, immigrants. That is a section where that will affect you. Just keep it in mind so that you can take that bias out of your head and think more like the exam, think like them rather than like yourself. Another thing is people who do well in it are people who are emotionally more intelligent. That doesn't mean that you are less intelligent. It just means that those people have a better understanding of how humans interact and how humans' emotions work, and they can interpret it better in a text form than some of us can. So definitely if you're struggling with it a bit, it doesn't have to be your fault. Just keep these things in mind so that you can actually work against them, get your score to go higher up. Doesn't only just benefits the people who have a better understanding of the culture, but also people who have a better vocabulary than other people. So people whose first language is not English are disadvantaged in this section. So definitely implore you to have a better grasp on English and understanding of English. The texts are very simple, but there's a lot of layers and connotations and context to the situations. So at a simple glance, they will look very simple interactions, but the section requires you to think a bit deeper and read between the lines and think about the context of a situation. Sadly, I will not think that mid-entry section 2 is as similar to section 2 in real exam. Mid-entry is more methodical, there's much more heavy vocabulary, a slight complex situations than the real exam. The real exam has gotten much more simpler, and the vocabulary has gotten down to common and simple words. Yet the section still continues to be a struggling section for many people because these situations are not as simple as they seem, even though you can read them as simple. It's a good idea to read a paragraph of the text and figure out what's the extreme emotion. Extreme either on the side of negative emotion or positive emotion. If somebody is being very joyous and their language and their body language is being described as very joyous, that's a big emotion they're showing. And then somebody is shown as very angry and they're shouting and exploding and there's exclamation marks. That's another extreme emotion. But then once you've identified these two extreme emotions or any other big thing happening, you also need to read a bit between the lines and see what might be the secondary emotion, or might be something else that's happening that might not be visible right away when you read the text or when you read the paragraph. And that's where it gets slightly bit complicated. So for example, the whole text could be describing how hopeful somebody is about the diagnosis they got, but the last line could actually show that they're actually not hopeful, but the line is actually not clearly showing that they're becoming more pessimistic. But you know, somebody who reads between the lines or can understand the context of the situation can see, okay, they were hopeful but they actually are not as hopeful at the end of the paragraph, and that will actually help you understand better how to interpret situations and interactions better. Third thing, emotive language is your friend. Emotive language is language used to describe our emotions and how we feel. You can easily Google it and find these charts on like how to describe an emotion, and you know, I will put this like beautiful chart that describes the emotions and the degree of these emotions. And this seems very simple, right? Like we all deal with emotions, we all feel these emotions, but understanding how these emotions apply to other people and how these emotions change through a situation is important. And for that, you need to be slightly bit more sensitive to the situation than you might have thought before. Getting something this basic down could actually really help you when you are looking at section 2 and the vocabulary for section 2. So I really did focus on these emotive language and emotions, and they help me identify what are other ways of describing emotions. Truth to be told, we are never really taught as we're growing older how to describe emotions, to be honest. That's why a lot of us struggle with describing ourselves or what we're feeling or the struggles we're feeling in our mind. And Section 2 kind of brings out those weaknesses that we already have in our communication, the way we talk to each other. If you already struggle a bit with communication, this could be a section where you will get dragged down. But it's good because now you're seeing the pattern, now you're seeing the biases, now you're seeing the holes, and you can improve. So that's perfect. The way I approached learning the vocab was I will Google the vocab. Something as simple. So for example, this emotion chart I have with this emotive language I will Google angry. That's such a simple word, but I need to understand anger being used in different contexts, because I might know it only being used in one context, but in HPAT, usually these emotions and these words will come in contexts we are not really comfortable or familiar with, which is why we need to be comfortable with these words in all forms of its usage. I will Google anger and then I will write the definition down and get the synonyms down. And anger might have exasperated or indignant, and these emotions could actually be synonym for anger, but then when you go and search the definitions, you realize no, they could describe anger in a certain situation, but there is a difference between them. For example, jealousy and envy, those two words, we use them interchangeably, we don't really think about them, but if you search their definitions or differences between them, you will realize that jealousy means you might feel a sense of anxiousness or uncertainty from a rival, while envy is when you have this sense of I want that from somebody else's possession or attribute, anything else they might have. These both could be an option in an answer. But if you don't know that jealousy refers to mostly rivalship, while envy refers to like wanting something that might be a possession or characteristic of somebody else. And now you know the difference, and now you can identify the differences between them and pick the most relevant word for the situation that's been described. Another example is optimistic. Somebody who's optimistic is the same as being hopeful, right? But if you find the definition, you realize that somebody who is optimistic believes that somehow they will get there. Somehow things around them, people around them will do stuff, or some things will happen that will get them to where they want. While a hopeful person thinks that through their own actions and abilities they will get to where they want to go. Again, now you know the differences between them that could actually help you identify which is the most relevant word. So these words are very simple. We use them in our life all the time, yet they could be used in situations or contexts we're not familiar with. There isn't necessarily the case of learning huge, big, long, complicated words of vocab, but rather already getting the vocab you have down in a way that will help you on the day. This helps you save time and actually just become better at describing yourself as well. Another helpful resource is Quizlet. I did find when I was searching for vocabulary resources that there were a few decks already made in Quizlet for vocabulary that was coming in HPAT. They are old though, and I don't think so they might be as relevant, but they're good. They are some words have come before in HPAT. So if you have time and you want more vocabulary, those are the decks I recommend you and use them. They're already made. It's gonna save you time. And hopefully this video helped you cleared up some confusions about section 2 or vocab. And if you have any more questions, comment them below and I will reply to whatever I can. And subscribe, and see you in the next video. Bye.